Hi, I'm Naveen, and today we'll be discussing how to target 25 out of 25 in AR, LR in Snap. So, AR stands for analytical reasoning and LR stands for logical reasoning. So, good afternoon, Varun, Anita, and everyone else. So, let's quickly discuss the previous year Snap pattern. So, last year, in the three slots, we had equal number of questions in each of English, which were 15 each, and AR and LR had the most number of questions, which was 25. QA, DI, and DS, they comprised a total of 20 questions, and the duration was 60 minutes for each of the three slots. The marking scheme was +1 for slot 1, slot 2, and slot 3. If you answer it correctly, or it was 0.25 negative. So the level of difficulty was almost the same throughout. So there was not a lot of variance when it comes to the level of difficulty of each of the three sections. So they were overall moderate papers. Okay. So this year, the pattern is going to be exactly the same. You will be having 15 questions in your general English. You will be having 25 questions in your analytical and logical reasoning, and 20 questions in your QA, DI, and DS. A total of 60 questions, a total of 60 marks, and it will be computer-based test, and it will be a very, very quick exam, right? The moment you start, you will not even realize that half of the time is over. So you have to be very quick. So is it possible to score 10% marks in any of the sections? Yes, it is, but you have to practice a lot. You have to be very, very quick. So what is the strategy to ace AR and LR? Since you guys have been preparing for the competitive exams, not just Snap, but other exams for the past few months now. So what you guys have to do is revise all the topics of LR, okay, which are of level of difficulty 1 and 2, as in which are easy and easy to moderate. So practice and revise tons of questions. Now there are certain types of questions which come only in the Snap exam. The kind of questions related to directions, blood relations, cubes, and then we have encoding, decoding, series and patterns, then you have got questions from figure based, also known as visual reasoning. Okay, so these are the topics under the analytical reasoning. Now in the case of logical reasoning, you have questions related to similarities as in similarities between the words, pair of words. So if a word is related to some other word in a certain way, so you have to find from the options which other pair will make similar sense. Then you have got questions related to critical reasoning, as in deduction, strong argument, weak argument, right? Then you have got questions which are going to be related to odd one out in the series. It may be related to the logical reasoning or the analytical reasoning, as in it may be related to letters and numbers, or it may be related to words. 4 words will be given, let's say. Out of those 4 words, 1 word is going to be will have a different meaning. The remaining 3 will be same, which sometimes comes in the English section as well. But the way the question is framed in English is a very different one as compared to the LR part. Okay, so we will look into some of the types that I have just written down and see how we can actually improve with the speed, and with the speed the accuracy takes a backseat, right? So we have to be quick as well as accurate. The shortcuts and the formulae are very, very important. Concept based questions are going to be very rare. Application based questions are going to be very rare. Most of the questions are going to be based on the shortcuts or the direct formula. Okay, so the first set, A cube of 7 centimeter into 7 centimeter into 7 centimeter is kept in the corner of a room and painted in 3 different colors, each face in one color. The cube is cut into 343 smaller but identical cubes. So how many smaller cubes do not have any face painted? How many smaller cubes have exactly one color on them? How many smaller cubes have at the most 2 faces painted? Now, we have a direct formula when it comes to a cube, which is kept in the 3-dimensional space, as in how many will be painted with 3 colors, 2 colors, 1 color and 0 color. But in this case, the cube is not in the 3-dimensional space. It is actually kept in the corner of a room. So a room has a corner, which is going to be something like this. And when the cube has been put here, so the cube is going to have only 3 faces which are visible to us right now. Only these 3 faces will be painted. The faces behind them will not be painted. Okay. So what we can do is we can understand that a layer from each of those not visible faces that are peeled off, and then we can solve it, or we can visualize it and then solve it. Okay, so either way we will be able to solve it. So I think the easier approach would be if we visualize rather than converting the cube into some another one, because then we will have to do a lot of not exactly analogy, but we'll have to see the pattern more. So if we have a cube that is kept at the corner of a room, so this is the cube, the corner of the room is going to be somewhat like this, and these 3 faces that are visible, that are painted in 3 different colors, one face in one color. The colors have not been mentioned, so it could be any 3 colors, right? Completely our choice. And now it is cut into 343 smaller but identical cubes, which means there have been 6 cuts so that we get 7 slices, right? So if you talk about total number of cubes we will have will be 343. Now these 343 cubes will have certain number of cubes where 3 faces will be painted, plus certain number of cubes with 2 faces painted, plus certain number of cubes with 1 face painted, and then certain number of cubes with 0 face painted. Sum of all these cubes should be equal to 343. Now, if we need to find out how many cubes we have with 3 faces painted, that particular cube is going to be at this particular corner. This is the only place where we will find a cube with 3 faces painted. So this is just one. Now, let's talk about 2 faces painted. 2 faces painted are going to be found at these edges. So this edge and then at this edge, we are going to find cubes with 2 faces painted. So I'm going to use a different color for 2 faces painted. So these cubes. So I'm drawing the figure so that you can see what is happening. In the exam, we do not actually draw so much accurate figure, and we don't worry about have we covered every aspect of it. If we understand what is happening, we don't even have to draw it. So these are the 3 edges where we will be finding the cubes which will have 2 faces painted. Now, there are 7 cubes along a particular edge. If you just look at a particular edge, there are 7 cubes, right? Out of those 7 cubes, if I remove this corner one, so there are 6 cubes at this edge, we have got 6 cubes at this edge, and then we have got 6 cubes at this edge, right? So there are a total of 18 cubes which will be having only 2 faces painted. Now let's talk about 1 face paint. So 1 face paint are going to be the cubes that are present at these faces, right? Now there are a total of 7 by 7, 49 cubes यहाँ पर ऊपर में होने चाहिए थे on the face, right? Out of those 49, how many cubes did we remove? We removed 6 cubes from here. We removed 6 cubes from the other edge. And then we removed 1 cube from the corner. So a total of 13 cubes were removed. So we have a total of 36 cubes that we will have at every particular face. Since there are 3 faces, so we will have 3 into 36, which will result in 108 cubes, which will be painted with just one color. Okay, no, there are going to be 108 cubes where only one face is painted by one of the colors. So the remaining cubes will be how many? These are going to be those cubes which will have 0 face painted. So 343 minus 127. So 343 minus 127. So this is going to be 343 minus 127. So this should definitely end in a 6, right? So how many smaller cubes do not have any face painted? The answer is going to be 216. How many smaller cubes have exactly one color on them? 108. How many smaller cubes have at the most 2 faces painted? At the most 2 faces painted would mean these many. At most 2 means 2 faces, 1 face, 0 face. So out of 343, there is only 1 cube with 3 faces painted. So we will have only 342. So some sets like these may take some time, whereas there are going to be other sets which you have to be very quick. Anyways, even if you spend somewhere around, let's say 4 to 5 minutes on this set, this is good enough, right? Because we are not solving one question, we are solving 3 questions out of this. Okay, I will answer your queries. Okay, I'll look at the chat in some time. A numerical machine accepts 2 values x and y, then it updates these values as x is equal to x into y. So you will take the product of those two and that will become your new x. And y will increase by 1 in every step. So y is equal to y plus 1. And the machine stops at a value when it becomes greater than or equal to a value which is n. Okay, so variables x, y and n. For x is equal to 3, y is equal to 2 and n is equal to 100, how many steps are performed before the machine stops? So the first calculation is going to be when it accepts x is equal to 3 and y is equal to 2, then it updates the values, right? So x is going to be now 3 into 2, 6, and y will become 3. Y will increase by 1. Then x will become 6 into 3, 18, and y will increase by 1. So this was our first step, this was our second step. In the third step, x is going to be 18 into 4, which will result in 72, and y will change to 5. And in the fourth step, x is going to cross 100, right? So machine stops when x is more than n or equal to n. So x will stop here when it is 72 into 5. So in 4 steps, the machine stops. Okay. Next is in the above question. So this is from these all are snap questions, actual snap questions. In the above question, what is the final value of x? The final value of x remains 72. In the above question, what is the final value of y? Right? So final value of y will it will increase, right? Both the values will get updated. So the value of y will remain 6. And then next x is not calculated. Okay. Next is, I believe there were 5 questions for this. If x is equal to 2 and y is equal to 3, what should be the minimum value of n such that final value of y is 7? Now, we just calculated that in, hold on. In 4 steps, we get y is equal to 6 and x is equal to 360, right? So, in 4th step, the value of x is 360 and the value of y was 6. Then, in the 5th step, this is going to become x as 360 into 6, which is going to be 2160, and y is going to be 7. So this is the final value where it stops. So what should be the minimum value of n? And did we start with 2 and 3? Okay, the values have changed. Sorry, the values have changed. It says x is equal to 2 and y is equal to 3. In the first question, in the first three, it was actually x is equal to 3 and y is equal to 2. So we will have to repeat. In the first step, x will become 2 into 3, which is going to be 6. And y will be 1 more, which is 4. Then it is going to be 24, and y will become 5. Then it becomes 120. The value of y becomes 6. 120 into 6 is 720, and value of y becomes 7. So this is where we need to stop. That means the x must have been equal to n or greater than n. So at that point, the value of n should be 720. Right? So the it was, the values have been reversed. That's what I was thinking. Why is it coming out to be in thousands? Now, if the value of n is changed to 500, what would be the final value of x? Now, this question is not related to the previous one. This question is related to the one that we were doing initially, the first three questions, right? So, when x was 360, y was 6, and then when x is going to be 360 into 6, which is going to be 2160, that is the value where it should stop, right? So fifth step is going to be 2160 and y is going to be 7. So if we say n is 500, so x did not exceed 500 when y was 6. X exceeded 500 when y was 7. So the value of y is supposed to be 7, right? And the value of x is supposed to be 2160. That's when the machine is going to stop. So 5 to 6 minutes for 5 questions, right? Okay. CR, kind of vocab based reasoning. This is not English. This was a part of reasoning in the actual SNAP paper. So pick up the appropriate analogy. Now the thing is, if you know the meaning of the word dirge, then you would know what to answer. If you have no idea about it, then you will have to quickly skip this, right? Should you go with a guesswork? You can, okay? Do not do a lot of guessworks. 1/4 negative with 4 options gives you proper, power to do some negative work, do some guessworks. Because worst case, if you are making, 5 guessworks and out of those 5, even if 1 is correct, right, and 4 are wrong, you do not, your score doesn't increase, right? So, वो चलेगा. And since you have 4 options, the probability के हिसाब से 1 out of every 4 is going to be correct. So, anyways, it's going to be some positive score only. Now, do you know the meaning of the word dirge? If you know it, it's fine. If you don't, you will have to skip this. By the way, birth is when somebody is born, right? And dirge is the, it's the feeling. It's the part where when somebody dies, so that feeling, that not the dead person, the feeling that the others have and that the eulogy that they give, that part is called dirge. Okay, dirge is not death, it's the feeling, or it's the I can say the consequences that happens around the dead person. That's dirge. Okay, so these are not antonyms, right? These are not opposite words. They are, dirge is related to the antonym of birth, but that's not the antonym. Dirge is not death. So sunset and sunrise, they may sound like antonyms, but they are not, and they both are the actual things that happen. There is no feeling associated in the second word. So first is not your answer. Security check and arrival. Security check is not the beginning, and arrival is not an emotion related to it or something that is um, a consequence of it. Okay. Marriage, alimony. Marriage is the beginning of two people staying together, and when they divorce, when they separate, alimony is the amount paid by one of the ex-spouse to the other. Okay, so this may be the answer, and this question was considered as a very difficult one because welcome address and vote of thanks, they both, I mean, these both the options, they make sense. But if you think about it, vote of thanks is more like the antonym of welcome address, while alimony is not the antonym of marriage. Marriage का antonym हो जाएगा divorce. But because of divorce, the consequence is that somebody will have to pay alimony. That is something which is more related to birth and dirge rather than welcome address and vote of thanks. So the correct answer is going to be third option. Right? So a difficult one. Especially if you don't know the meaning of dirge, तब तो difficult है नहीं, तब तो आसान है. Skip करो, तुक्का मारो, आगे बढ़ो. Even if you know the meaning, so third and fourth, a lot of people made mistakes there. Okay. Another, visual reasoning. It's given that a band passes around all the wheels. The wheels are given as A, B, C, D, E, F, G, so that they can all be turned by the driving wheel. The arrow is given. When the driving wheel turns in the direction shown, so this is D, this is driving wheel. Which way will the wheel be turned? Now, before you follow how the strings are going to be stretched in which direction, let's look at the wheel B first. If you look at wheel B, you will realize that there is a string coming out from here and the other string is coming out from here. How is it possible? Because if it is going to be rounded around it, don't you think it should come from the same side? Or even if it's diametrically opposite, it should go towards the same side. ऐसे होना चाहिए था ना? If it is around this pulley or wheel, the string should have gone there, not the other way around. So this is like a straight string. You are pulling it from here, you're pulling it from here. This string is not going anywhere, right? So this gives you an idea that the will be is not gonna move. If you don't know that, so you will have to actually go through the entire process. So arrow is denoting in which direction the rope is or the band is supposed to move. So ये इस direction में move करने का कोशिश कर रहा है. If it enters, it can't exit that way, right? Wheel में तो एक circumference होगा. Don't think that बीच में कोई there is some space or there is some hole through which the string has been passed around. That is not gonna happen. So if you look around, string had been from here, तब तो फिर ये clockwise घूम रहा होता. Right now it's not going to move. So depending upon how someone perceived this question, did they straight away go to the pulley B or the wheel B, or did they actually draw the arrows? वो decide करता किसने कितना time लिया, right? Visual reasoning. Next question. So you need to practice these questions. So where will you find such types of questions for practice? So these questions, they do come in a lot of government or banking exams. Okay. So for example, army के जो exams होते हैं, CDS होता है, then you got IBPS. Sometimes in UPSC, you get questions like these. So if you follow those forums, or if you have PDFs or the books of such exams, competitive exams, you just go through them. You'll find tons and tons of them. Now, visual reasoning, some of them are very easy. Some of them are very time consuming. Okay. So this is one of the questions that had come previously. If you look at the three figures, these are reducing mesh made up of horizontal and vertical lines. So in the first figure, you have got 3 horizontal lines and then you have got 4 vertical lines. Now these 4 vertical lines, in the next figure becomes 3 vertical lines, and then they become 2 vertical lines. And if we continue this process, we are definitely going to have 1 vertical line. केवल इसको अगर ध्यान रखोगे, you will realize that first, second will not make sense. Now, if you look at the horizontal lines, there were 3 initially, then we had 2, then we had 1. Now, in the next one, we are not supposed to have any horizontal line. So, fourth be ruled out हो जाता है, third. Questions on encoding, decoding, sequences and series, fill in the blanks, and visual reasoning, they are generally, they're easier to solve if you eliminate the options rather than trying to figure out each and every part of the question. क्योंकि उसमें select करना होता है, right? So you look at the options and you're like, okay, so far whatever pattern I have found, it doesn't match with these 2 options or these 3 options. Then you move to the next one, then you move to the next one. Okay. So the kind of argument, right? There are tons of different types of arguments that exist in English, in reasoning, sorry. So this question is based on this, right? The argument above may be best characterized as. So the question is, many people argue that the death penalty deters murder. Deters means it stops. It demoralizes, or it kind of prevents. However, the notorious killer Tom Hanks deliberately moved to a state that imposes the death penalty just before embarking on a series of ferocious murders. Thus, it seems clear that the existence of the death penalty does not serve as a deterrent to murder. Okay. So, what this passage is about, so while you were reading, you should also comprehend. You shouldn't read such small paragraphs twice or thrice. एक बार ही पढ़ो, पर धीरे-धीरे पढ़ो and समझ के पढ़ो. So this one is talking about that death penalty is a method by which, murderers will try not to murder people, as in someone who is going to be a murderer or somebody who is already a serial killer will try not to kill people, because then they will be afraid कि भाई death penalty मिल सकता है. But then they give us an example of a killer, Tom Hanks, who moved to a state. Obviously, it's some American state. So he moved to a state where the state used to impose death penalty on murderers. But he moved there, and there he killed people. So this example tells us that, death penalty, it doesn't actually deter murders. So death penalty has got no effect whether someone is going to kill or somebody is going to be killed or not, right? That's what the essence of the paragraph is. Now it says the argument above may be best characterized as. So which is the best option that will tell us what kind of argument we just dealt with. First one says it's an appeal to emotion. There is no emotion involved here, right? Okay. A flawed analogy. Maybe we just compared a general murderer and then we compared a specific murderer, right? हो सकता है. A general conclusion based on a specific example. Now, this makes more sense as compared to the second one. See, sometimes the answers are not going to be the accurate, but the one which is more accurate among the options. Okay? So, a general conclusion based on a specific example. Okay. So, there is a specific example and it's a general conclusion. It is conclusion, right? It seems clear that the existence of the death penalty does not serve as a deterrent to murder. Conclusion hai. Thus, conclude. Okay, fourth, circular reasoning. Now, if you know the varieties of reasoning involved in critical reasoning, and if you know what circular reasoning is, so that is good. ठीक है? पर अगर circular reasoning क्या होता है नहीं पता है, then obviously go with the statement that you are more confident in. और जो नहीं पता है, ignore it. Don't assume कि what if that is the correct option because I have no idea what it is talking about. If you have no idea what it is talking about, so that option is wrong. Assume that and always mark the option which you understand more. ठीक है? हमेशा यही करना. ये मत करना कि अरे थर्ड तो लग रहा है बट फोर्थ नहीं पता तो वही होगा. Maybe that is something I should have learned or I should have been, I should have studied but I did not. वैसे मत सोच के जाना. So circular reasoning, this is not an example of circular reasoning. The answer is going to be third one. So you saw that I rejected the options, and then eventually I was more confident in the leftover option, right? By the way, what is circular reasoning? Circular reasoning is the type of reasoning where the premise or the argument is going to be based on an assumption which is not exactly a part of the premise. Jaise, I'll give you a real life example. Suppose somebody tells me, a friend of mine, let's say he tells me that he votes for the best government. Okay, so let's say he voted for the best government last year or in the last election. Okay, and when I ask him, okay, whom did you vote? He was like, I voted for BJP. So this is circular reasoning. He assumes that BJP is the best government because he said, I vote for the best government, right? Best government can be a lot of different governments. But then he says, because I voted for BJP, so his assumption is that BJP is the best government. Okay, so his assumption started, as in his premise started with his own assumption. ठीक है, तो इसको circular reasoning बोलते हैं. तो ये circular reasoning तो है नहीं. It did not start with the example of Tom Hanks keeping in mind. It started with a statement which was like, if somebody says death penalty deters murders, and then somebody else says कि अरे नहीं, Tom Hanks का किस्सा नहीं सुना, वो तो चला जाता था मारने लोगों को. Then the first person will be saying कि see, that is a very specific example. You cannot generalize on every murderer, right? And it is very difficult to prove actually. ऐसा तो नहीं है कि आप जा के पूछोगे कि were you trying to murder someone? Oh yes. Did you not murder because you will get a death penalty? So there is not actually a fact or an evidence, on such kind of statements. ये कभी नहीं हो सकता इन चीजों में. So these are the varieties of reasoning that you will come across in your SNAP exam, right? Very, very different from your ZAT or CAT or IFT preparation. IFT से थोड़ा close है, but CAT and ZAT से तो बहुत ही अलग होता है. Okay, let me look at the questions now. Does anyone have any doubt? Score 224 in my NMAT. Can we convert KG with this score? Abhinav, you should give one more attempt. Okay. Symbiosis School of International, do they require work experience or even fresher can get there? Even fresher can get there, Varun. You're talking about SIBM, right? Even freshers can get there. See, every college, every MBA college, unless and until you are not applying for executive program, okay, कोई भी MBA college freshers को लेता है. हाँ, they may give maybe more weightage to work experience as compared to freshers, but that doesn't mean freshers cannot get in. For example, IIM Ahmedabad ka last year ka batch profile was like somewhere around 40% of the students were freshers. 35 to 40 के बीच में, which is a huge percentage, right? तो आप ऐसे मत सोच के चलो freshers हैं तो हमारी कोई वैल्यू नहीं है, ऐसा नहीं होता. They ask for, see, if they don't ask for work experience, then people who have work experience, what are they going to write? अलग से तो उनको call नहीं करेंगे ना. So if you have work experience, you can write it. If you don't have, put 0 over there or don't even tick mark, depending upon which form you are filling, right? Okay, so those were the queries. Okay, so (21st and 22nd of November), okay, it's only a couple of days to go. From 11 a.m. to 7 p.m., we are going to conduct an 8 hours non-stop marathon, which will help you revise the entire syllabus of CAT in just 2 days. So you decide, would you like to study for only 2 hours every day and finish it in the next 15 days, which means even after CAT is done, or do you like to get done with it in just 2 days and relax? Be comfortable that you're done with your syllabus revision. All you have to do is now solve more questions. So we're going to do all of that. We are not going to discuss a lot of concepts. Concepts related to questions is what we are going to discuss. And we will be revising all the 3 sections, the entire syllabus. We'll be solving a lot of practice problems, and how can we improve our score? How should you think? So since we are going to solve these, the faculties are going to solve them. So you will have an idea how we think, what all things should cross our mind the moment we read a question, okay, how we proceed. तो काफी कुछ सीखने को मिलेगा उधर. So make sure that you please subscribe our channel and press the bell icon so that you get your notification right before the session is about to start. And if you are going to join it, please make sure that you join for the entire 8 hours, okay, because I know it's a lot, right, but you will finish your entire syllabus revision in 2 days. Isn't that great? And please do mark your calendar for your CAT exam analysis, which is on 27th of November. So the 3-slot analysis will happen at these times: 12:30 p.m., 4:30 and 8:30 p.m. for slot 1, 2 and 3 respectively. We'll be discussing section-wise analysis. CAT score calculator will be provided to you. Memory-based questions are going to be discussed. We will tell you what the expected cutoffs should be. Cutoff ka matlab hai for a particular percentile how much you need to score, right? And what are good attempts? Good attempts matlab ki section-wise and overall, as to if you had attempted these many questions with a certain accuracy, you are expected to score this much of marks and eventually that percentile, right? They all are related. People who are targeting next year's CAT 2023, we have started our comprehensive program. The new batch is going to start tonight. So please get in touch with the counselors on our app. You can download our app. The description to the download link is given in the chat and as well as below. So you will be given a CAT learning tablet. You will be given classroom sessions, mock tests, practice tests, recorded lectures. Okay. You will also be given the books for each of the 3 sections. You will be helped with your GDPI and VAT preparation. You will be given study notes and previous year CAT questions, formula books and all that. Okay. So everything that is required to ace CAT is going to be provided to you. And anybody who still wish to, if you are missing out on NMAT, IFT, SNAP, MHCT, which will happen later, MICA, all these exams, if you want to practice them, so you need mocks. So please look into this. You can buy this test series of ours. It is at a throwaway price. It's very cheap, wherein you will get 20 CAT and 50 non-CAT mock tests. So don't forget to follow us on Instagram, YouTube and Facebook. And if you have any query, please do join our Telegram channel, which is BYJU'S MBA Doubt. It is, we have around 10,000 students there. Okay. And if you can download our app, therein you can, you'll get to see there are certain lectures that are free. So you can join the sessions live and you can see how teachers teach, what do they teach, how do we interact, what are the concepts involved. Okay. Divya, for SABM Nagpur ABM program, what is the percentile to get into? Divya, that is going to be possible to tell you the percentile, not percentile, it's score. it is only possible once the exam is done. For example, if I tell you that the percentile or the score required is this much, but the paper was easier, so the score will increase, right? So target around 90 to 95%, not the overall 95% marks. So I should tell you, target 50% marks if you want to get, if you are targeting specifically that college. Okay. And Prajwal, will there be a scribble pad or any for the exam on the day? हाँ Prajwal, they are going to give you a scribble pad with a pen. You don't have to carry anything. कपड़े पहनो बस, कपड़े जूते पहनो और सीधे एग्जाम हॉल में पहुंच जाओ along with your admit card, ID proof and all that. Don't carry any pencil, paper. If you are going to an examination center, जिधर में ये बहुत दूर है, so you cannot carry so much of things. So carry, travel light. And Prajwal, are you talking about the SNAP exam or you're talking about CAT? If you're talking about CAT, you don't have to carry anything. If you're talking about SNAP, it is written on the admit card what all things you should carry and what all things you are not required to carry. Okay? Chalo, thank you everyone. Thanks for joining. I hope the way questions were solved, discussed, the things that were told, it helped. I'll see you guys again in the next session. Till then, bye-bye.